Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to everybody around the world. Welcome back to another One Piece video featuring your boy, Kuzan. Coming at you guys with another spicy deck profile featuring OP12 here on the channel, let alone a leader in which seems to be my favorite to currently play in all of One Piece, which is kind of crazy. But in any case, today we will be diving into a matchup against Jewerly Bonney. And before we get into it, we're going to go ahead and talk about the matchup, the deck list, and all that good jazz. Now, I have, like I mentioned in the previous video, for those of you guys that watched it, if you didn't watch it, I have regionals coming up, and I also have a giant case tournament this weekend as well. We will be getting in as many games as I possibly can when it comes to this leader, whether that's going to be a win or a loss or what have you. I'm going to try my best. We're going to go over the matchups as I play them. And whatever happens, happens, right? Now, going into the matchup today, we are going to be playing against a Jewerly Bonney. This matchup lasted 45-ish minutes, alright? My opponent slow played like crazy. He knows it. He understands it. It happened. It is what it is. He's also playing against a leader in which he doesn't have a lot of practice into. So again, I'm going to tell you now, and probably in the comments during this video, be kind to everybody who's involved in these matchups. Negative comments will just get deleted, what have you. We're all human. It is what it is. We're all still trying to learn the game. This is a friendly place that we're going to be looking at my misplays, my mistakes, whether or not I did good in the match, what have you. This is the whole point of these is a learning purpose and to get better for everybody involved. Now, with that being said, this matchup is my worst, and I think it should be your worst, especially if you are playing Kuzan. Jewerly Bonney is very difficult for this deck to deal with due to the fact that 3-cost Rosinante existed, or not Rosinante, sorry, Tashigi exists. This card is problematic for you to be able to remove, on top of being able to remove every other character that she plays on board. And we're talking about the good old Cavendish, for example. You can't remove this when Tashigi's in play. Which, if Bonney sees the nuts and she gets the good curve, you play this out on 5 Dawn. Or sorry, you play this out on 6 Dawn. You restand, you play down Tashigi. You're good to go. Of course, you don't get that extra Dawn to rest something, but you have this in play. You have it where it's also protected. The whole playing Red Rock or Gravity Blade, it feels really bad to have to play one of these to just remove a Tashigi before you can get rid of something else on board. Tashigi can be a nightmare for Kuzan to deal with, but there's definitely workarounds when you guys are trying to control board, more so attacking into characters that Jewerly Bonney has on board for her to give you cards from hand. That's typically how I like to play this matchup. It doesn't always go like that, because there are times where Jewerly Bonney does not run into the Tashigi, right? We don't see it. And it feels so much more in your favor when they don't have this card on board to protect everything else in play. When this isn't there, you have options to do Aramaki's effect by bottom decking their 1-cost Jewerly Bonneys or their 2-cost Capones, which, in case you guys don't know, Capone new blocker came out in ST24, so you have ways of dealing with small chump blockers that are on board. You also can get rid of Rosinante as well, but you can't do any of this when Tashigi is in play. The other upside to it is, in this particular list, we utilize Jozu, so being able to play him down if you go second on curve is really, really good, opposed to doing Kuzan most of the time, because being able to play Jozu early to bounce back the Tashigi to hand can slow down the Jewerly Bonney's next turn, considering they have to play it back down to get value out of it. That's something to consider. Your other options you're going to be playing around with a lot will probably be Suru. This allows you to bounce back Cavendishes to hand or Uruges, and sometimes 8-cost Kids or what have you, depending on what's in play. This is really good in this matchup as well, but again, mindful, if Tashigi's in play, it's a little bit harder to work around. And this is why I think this deck, or Jewerly Bonney, is very difficult for Kuzan to deal with, just because you are a control-based variant that draws a lot of cards, that has board removal, but you gotta remove 1 card first before you can remove something else. Now, this is also why I've upped this to 4, and being able to get this off of life just in that matchup alone can change the game. because you can bottom deck the Tashigi, and then you can play down a Tashigi of your own to draw into a Gravity Blade to remove other things on board. There's a lot of ways to play around it, but either way, we are going to dive into this game today. Again, it's going to be like 45 minutes. I'm going to be editing as best as I can. My opponent did end up slow playing me, and you guys need to stick around for the end of the video. So, let's get into it. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. We're going to dive into this matchup today. Come at you guys with Kuzan playing into Jewerly Bonney, and of course, I forgot to hit the record button. So what had happened was, Bonney ended up playing Bonney, and he searched out another Jewerly Bonney, which they're currently going through what to take during this turn. Now, we did end up taking the first hit as well. We end up getting a Peacock or an Ice Block off a life. They get the Capone from the search here. For our Peacock, we trash a Rosinante. The Peacock draws us another Peacock and a Hina. Alright? Now that you guys are caught up, we're going to go and get into this game here. Now, there is a couple cards in this matchup that are key for us to be able to have on board or to be able to establish at some point. That would be the 4-cost Pudding, of course. And that is going to be your Gravity Blade. Both of those are going to be very, very vital here in this matchup. Unfortunately, Gravity Blade loses a lot of value if Tashigi is in play. So if that's the case, you going second, you winning the dice roll, you're going to want to have Jozu, which we do have, which is kind of nice, because this allows us to bounce back either the Tashigi on board or a Cavendish if they don't have Tashigi in play, which is really good here. Not a bad search, to be fair. That wasn't too bad. I guess we'll just take this here. We need to grab another Kuzan for later, just in case. Now, we do have the Suru off of this, right? So we're going to go ahead and play down the Suru, which we got back from the Sengoku search. And this is kind of your ideal start, or the ideal turn, if you will. Basically, we're seeing the nuts. Unfortunately, this is not the best search, right? We get double Pudding, 2 2Ks, and a Gravity Blade. It's absolutely horrendous, because now this tells us we only run 2 Puddings in this variation, so we're not going to be able to Pudding my opponent anytime soon. But your opponent always tries to play around Pudding, no matter what, if they're playing against a blue deck. So by you asking how many cards you have in hand, it does get your opponent a little antsy and a little bit cautious when it comes to blocking or taking hits, due to the fact that they know they're probably just going to get Puddinged here during this turn. So it's something to keep note of. Now, our opponent doesn't know we just bottom decked both of our Puddings, and unfortunately, it sucks. It sucks when it happens. Now, outside of that, they're at 5 dot. They didn't search out any Cavendishes. So that leads me to believe either they have them in hand or they just got super unlucky. Because in this situation, they can still play Cavendish here to restand 2 Dawn to search out 1 with the Jewerly Bonney, leave 1 left over for, the rest something on board, which is kind of cool. But this turn, if they drop Cavendish here, we have the bounce with the Jozu, which is very, very important for us here. And this is why winning this dice roll is just so huge for Kuzan, because we need to be able to play our characters on curve. Outside of this, if we were to go first here, I would probably change my deck list a little bit more, and I'm thinking about it as well, just in case when we do lose the dice roll, I want to try to play around with 5-cost Virgo, just to have another option. But hey, we'll go and give him a 2K here. I don't like to take too many hits early game in this matchup, because Hody Jones does exist, and sometimes it is a free damage. But at the same time, being able to cycle cards as much as we have with the Sengoku and the Tashigi, it's okay to also counter out early, because you're not going to go ahead and pitch your entire hand, if you will. So now we get another search off here with Jewerly Bonney. Remember, they've already grabbed 1 Capone, okay? Their first search was into a Jewerly Bonney, which they've already put in the trash here. I think they have... It's really hard to tell how many cards they have in hand with the black sleeve, but I think they have 7, if that's math. It looks like 6, so it might be 6. This might be 7 here, depending on what they grab. I think they get another 2-cost Capone, if I remember. They do. Okay, so now they have 2 of those in hand, which is pretty good information for me. Because I've also learned that in this matchup, being able to count out or pay attention to what Jewerly Bonney has in the early game is very, very detrimental to how the game progresses. Because you got to keep in mind, a lot of Bonney players are still utilizing 8-cost Kid. So, getting those counters out early game or by attacking into characters sometimes is kind of pretty good. But just like this turn here, I want to swing into the Jewerly Bonney that's on board, right? I want to. But I also want to go face, because I don't want to leave them at 5 life and not attacking them the whole game. So, we'll see. Because now we can either go 2 or go 3 into Bonney. Regardless, they're going to rest either the Sengoku or lead if we do it the other way around. So we might as well just clear the Bonney off board here. Because we already have a play, which is going to be the Jozu. So now you have 2 options. You either bounce back to Shigi or you bounce back to Sengoku. If I leave the Sengoku on board, Sengoku might just be a pseudo blocker, but it doesn't make any sense for him to swing into the Sengoku because Sengoku doesn't have any other effect. Being able to bounce it back to hand, though, does enable me to play it back down, and it also forces my opponent to attack into me instead of a character. That way I can get more cards. So that's at least how I looked at it for that turn. Oof, man. We got rid of the Cavendish, which is good. So now he goes to 7 Dawn here. This could be the play where he plays the Tashigi and the Cavendish down. And that's kind of what I'm dreading, because it seems to be a lot of Bonney players, either they have it or they don't. When they miss it, this game has already swung heavily in my favor at that point. Because the later the game progresses, when they decide to play the Cavendish and the the Cavendish and the Tashigi, we're probably already way ahead. Because, you know, we have Garp being able to play down 2 big bodies in a turn is kind of nuts sometimes. But they're on 7, so I'm expecting them to only be able to spend 6 at most, unless they're going to drop down another Cavendish here. I believe that's 7. We're going to go 5 lead again. We'll give him the 1k, in which he knows that we took back the hand. And that's fair. Okay. So they're going to drop down a Hawkins. I haven't seen a Hawkins in a while, and that kind of threw me for a loop during this game too, but I guess there are some removal decks out here with Aluchi and Sokka running around. So, and I do think Hawkins is probably pretty good right now too, so there's that. Our hand is pretty bricked up, I'll be fair. But I think we can get around it. We're going to go 7 lead first. This will be our first attack into life, in which they decide to take, and I'm cool with that. Remember, we have 7 in hand, or sorry, we have 8 in hand here. We have multiple ways of dealing with this. We could play Garp and then into the Kuzan. This will allow us to draw 2 cards and then freeze the Hawkins, but I don't see him actually swinging with Hawkins next turn in the first place. I could be wrong, but I really don't know. I could swing in with Tashigi. We can Gravity Blade it just to remove it. That's something else we could do, but it's just much better to just get down the Garp to have the 2 bodies. We want to do this at least on curve anyway, and then we can go ahead and play down Aramaki. I believe Aramaki in this matchup is just a lot more valuable than it would be for Kuzan, unless we're using Kuzan to freeze something that's on board that is a pretty good target. In this situation, Hawkins is not. So I'd much rather get down the Aramaki. This way we can bottom deck the 2-cost Capones that we know he has, right? He has 2 in hand. We can get rid of Searchers without having to attack into them. Therefore, Bonney can't rest something else on board. At least for that moment, right? So that's going to go ahead and draw me another Kuzan, which is very unfortunate. So we're going to go ahead and use Aramaki's effect. We'll bottom deck our Tashigi, okay? And then we're going to pitch Kuzan in hand to be able to draw another card off our leader skill, which is really good. So now we'll draw off Kuzan here, and we'll pass it over. So we've got 2 Peacocks in hands, 3 2Ks, and a Kuzan. I think that's pretty good. It's much better than it was before. We were able to clear up our hand a little bit and cycle through with Garp and Aramaki there. So we got rid of a bunch of dead cards, or a bunch of no counter cards, which is kind of nice. Unfortunately, though, this Gravity Blade, as much as I'd like to see it, it's not getting a lot of value. He didn't play anything on board that needed to be removed there outside of the, the Hawkins. And I just think that being able to develop the Garp plus another body was a lot more valuable here. Jozu's kind of just chilling too, because he can't really swing into it and play a character on board unless he decides to don up the Hawkins to go 9 into it. But I have to be mindful here for this turn as well. Just because he can play down Shanks, right? I think Shanks is still a prominent threat. If we decide to guard out with Aramaki, and then he plays Shanks to pop the Aramaki there, that'd be terrible. And we probably would just lose the momentum that we've gained so far. Because then he just gets a Shanks and a Hawkins on board, plus, leader swing at some point. And we don't have the Red Rock right now, which is also traumatic. So, we'll see. He does have access to the 8-cost Mihawk as well, which, if he can establish that with a Eustace Kid on board at some point, and if I recall, I think he does, but Aramaki can't really do a whole lot to that either. And going into the late game here with the Gravity Blade, we're probably going to pitch that at some point. He's contemplating on going 7 here. He does go 7 into Jozu. I have to give him 2Ks here. Like, we have to counter just to play around the Shanks. So we'll drop the 2. If he did have Shanks in hand, this forces him to do something different. But I'm still, just in case. Okay. So Cavendish hits the board. He spends the 5, he restands 2. Alright. Looking pretty good here. Because he gets Cavendish back in play. And this is the turn where he would play down the Tashigi if he has it. Considering we haven't seen Tashigi just yet. We've seen a Capone and a Jewerly Bonney in trash over there, I believe. Oh, sorry, that's 2 Jewerly Bonnies in trash. My bad. That's 4. He has 9 cards in hand right now. And 2 of them are Capones. So 6, basically. I believe that's 9. So the power of editing there. Like I said, my opponent's going to slow play majority of this game, so I mean I do expect to edit a lot in this video, so I apologize to you guys. I'm not going to make you sit here and watch all of that. In any case, they spend 2 down, play a Capone. They get to draw 1 and cycle here in this turn, which is kind of irrelevant to me. I believe that is, what, 10 cards? Oh, 9 cards in it, so they had 8. So this will push them back down to, this will push them back down to 8 here after the Capone drop. In any case, we have the Aramaki, so the Capones aren't really a problem unless they're able to play down a Tashigi to be able to protect them. Therefore, Aramaki cannot bottom deck anything other than cards on my side of the board, which is unfortunate because that way we cannot do like any of our abilities with the cycle, because we have to bottom deck something to be able to cycle. We can't just cycle, pitch a card in hand, and do a thing. It doesn't work like that. Like, we have to have a target to bottom deck before it can get the boost. And then Kuzan can get the thing. But they got 4 Dawn left, right? So they're going to spend 1, it looks like, to attach 6. We're going to guard out here, because they only have 3 Dawn left over. They're going to play a Jewerly Bonney with a Search, which gets you, I don't even remember. What could they be looking for? Okay, there's the Kid. That's fair. So they grab Kid, they have 1 Dawn left open, which will probably be used to rest my Aramaki next turn, because that seems to be making the most sense here. Because now we get to pitch a card in hand with Aramaki, which will be the Capone that we can bottom deck here. And then we'll swing in with Aramaki first into the Hawkins instead of going for face. This way they're forced to give me 3k counter, and which is really good, or they just let it go. So we're going to pitch this first, right? We're going to bottom deck that. Aramaki gets 3000 power boost. We get the draw off the Kuzan ability, which gets us a Hina. Pretty good hand so far. And now we have to swing with Aramaki, because otherwise they just rest it, right? So we're going to go 11 here. And I'm hoping that this will get us the counter, because they're going to freeze the Garp, or sorry, rest the Garp with Bonney ability. Yeah, so they need a 2k, right? Sorry, they need 5k counter to get out of this, because they need 2 2ks and a 1k counter. Yeah, which is really good for us here. Now, he's contemplating on whether or not to block out to defend this, right? If he doesn't, he's worried about us having pudding in hand. And You guys know we've already bottom decked both of the puddings in the deck list. They're already down there. He doesn't know that yet. And I'm trying to talk him into protecting the Hawkins, because I told him I would assume that he needs the Hawkins on board for the Eustace Kid that we know that he drew, right? We know he has one more Veggie. We know he's got Kid in hand. And hypothetically speaking, he goes up to 10 Dawn next turn. He plays Eustace Kid for 2. He swings in with Cavendish, restands 2, attaches 1 to Kid, has 3 Dawn left. Which does what? He has an option to have a blocker for the Kid, play something down from hand with the Kid's effect, whether that's going to be a Rosinante or another Tashigi. And then he has either 2 blockers if it's a Rosinante, or he has Hawkins plus Tashigi plus Eustace Kid on board. You know? But if he gives me cards here, that's 5k counter out of hand that he doesn't have for the Eustace Kid when I'm going to be going into its face, you know? Which is pretty good. I think this situation is a win-win by going 11 into this Hawkins instead of going for face. If we go for face, he takes the hit for free, right? Obviously. Now, he's worried about me playing pudding. But I'm telling him there's no point in me using pudding if he's going to guard out for the Hawkins, because it doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? We're getting a lot of cards out of hand. There's no point of playing pudding there. It doesn't get any value if we have pudding in the situation. So, he's willing to let the Hawkins go, and I think that's the correct play here. It'd be a little bit different if he lets it go and we had the pudding in hand, right? But I could be wrong, because I don't know what else he has or what's his game plan for the rest of the turn here. But I know he's got the Eustace Kid in hand, which he needs the counter for, if he wants to protect that. Of course, we don't have a Red Rock yet, and we haven't seen a Tashigi, so... Well, what would you do in this situation? Would you let the Hawkins go? Or would you have countered out? I think each Bonney player typically comes into these matchups with a different strategy. I don't know what it is. I feel like if you're using a Eustace Kid variation, you want the counter for the Kid. It just makes it makes the most sense. But each their own, right? We're gonna go ahead and go 5. I'm gonna go 5 to face here. I should have swung 5 into Jewerly Bonney, the one drop, and that's my bad. Because now we have to spend Jozu to go into it. That way they don't get the search off. Which is okay, because we have another option of what I want to do here. I was hoping that he would give me cards out of hand from the Kuzan swing. And if that's okay, because then we would have swung the Jozu into the Bonney anyway. That way we got cards out of hand. Plus, for what we're going to do now, with our Tendon that we have, mind you, we can either play the 6-cost Kuzan to freeze the Hawkins, right? Or we can play Suru down, and Suru allows us to cycle. And I think in this situation, I could have went numerous different ways about it, but playing Suru here forces the Cavendish back to hand, right? Of course, we got to pitch 2 cards in hand. Yeah, great, sure. But we're just going to go ahead and toss the Gravity Blade, because we're not going to get any value with this going into the next turn, because we know he's going to be playing down a Eustace Kid, right? And if he's playing Eustace Kid, Rosinante, or Eustace Kid into... Tashigi, it doesn't matter, because we can't play Gravity Blade and have extra Dawn to clear the Kid. So, we get rid of the Gravity Blade, we get rid of the Peacock. We're going to draw 2 cards here off of Suru. And the way this works is, if I pitch cards from hand due to a Navy effect, you can draw cards. So, Suru forces me to discard 2 for effect to be active. Therefore, Kuzan allows you to draw 2 cards, which is really good. We've cleared the board, alright? We've cycled cards out of hand. Now we have the Red Rock. We also have a Garp and a Kuzan that we can play around at some point. We're looking pretty good. We've got 4 life left. We have a full board. Now we have 3 life. It'd be what it'd be. But we do get a Searcher, which is pretty nice. There's the Shanks. So Shanks is going to clear the Aramaki. He gets 1 Dawn left. And just in time for us to Red Rock this and go about our day. What do we get off the draw here? That is a Sakazuki. Okay. So we're going to go 8 to face first. He's going to rest the Jozu. He's going to take the hit. If we had pudding, now would be the time, right? We would pudding and then Red Rock. because that would be great. But instead, do we have math? Okay. Actually, let's search. We're going to search here first. We get a Gravity Blade, a Garp, a Borsalino, and a Sengoku with an Aramaki. I would be contemplating on taking the Aramaki here, because we can Garp into the Aramaki, but I think we have to remove the Shanks here, because Shanks will just be slapping, you know, another character on board here, which is not the greatest. So in this situation, we can take Sengoku, right? We can play down a Sengoku, because we have enough Dawn. That's math. Yeah, it's math. I just want to make sure I didn't miscount. So we're going to play Sengoku here. The Sengoku allows me to draw 3 cards, so I basically get to replenish my hand from the past couple turns, which is really good. We'll have to pitch a card in hand here. And now it's either going to be Sakazuki or the Kuzan. Both of them are very, very good here. But Kuzan doesn't have a target, because we are going to be removing the Shanks with the Red Rock. And the Sakazuki does allow us to draw 2 cards to, you know, fuel back our hand out later. So we're going to pitch this. We're going to draw 5 off the Sengoku. Not very good, I'll be fair. So we'll take a Suru, of course, for the 2K. And now it's either between Borsalino or the Garp. Remember, we have 6 Dawn left. And we have to spend the 6 to remove the Shanks in this turn. So, we're going to take the Garp for now. Because now we have to pitch a card for the other ability later. What did we draw off that? Okay. Not bad. We'll go ahead and spend 6. We'll bottom deck this. And we'll pass turn back over after we swing 5 to face. In hopes that we can get cards out of hand. He's got a whole book. Which is pretty good if you have a board state, which he doesn't right now. And I think that's due to the fact that we didn't see any Tashigis in play, which is kind of nice. So, I'm not complaining. Not in the slightest. Also, we were able to remove that Cavendish twice, by the way, with a Suru and a Jozu, which sets your opponent back tremendously when they can't have a Cavendish on board to be able to do it for the kid turn. Which is kind of nice. Because typically in that situation, if Cavendish is on board, they spend the Dawn to play the kid down. They can just restand extra Dawn once they swing over with the Cavendish, which is kind of good. I will be guarding out this turn, so we'll go and give him the 1k counter here. Unfortunately. Yeah, that's fine. I think we need to keep the 2Ks anyway, in case he wants to like play Hody here and what have you and go for board state. But he plays Cavendish back down again. I believe this is the 4th time this game, or the 3rd. I lost count. But hopefully we can remove it again. So there's an Uruge. He's got 3 Dawn left. And we know what's about to happen here. So Tashigi finally hits the board. Okay. And that's a board state. That really is. It's a really, really good board state for him to be in. Unfortunately, it's a little bit too late with the Tashigi. Just a little bit. Just a little bit too late. Let's go and search first. Because at this point, I don't really care about the Tashigi being in play. He's already at 10 Dawn. The Cavendish is kind of meh to me at this moment. Go 5. We could potentially take another Sengoku here to draw us more cards. Because we could take Sengoku, play Sengoku, pitch the Garp. But I think I want to get down the Garp here this turn instead. So we'll take the 2k. It's either that, Rosinante to counter out for the Shanks if he has another one after this turn when I start swinging. Or we just take the 2k for now. Because I think he's going to be developing the Eustace Kid at some point. I don't think he's going to be using removal. He's at 2 life. So let's go 8 lead first. He's going to rest the Jozu here. I'm hoping we can go ahead and get him down to 1. Well, getting cards out of hand is not too bad because there's no kid on board. So he does take the hit. It's kind of unfortunate, but what are you going to do? Go 5 lead here as well. Surely he has the 1k. which is the Capone. So that's the second one that he had. So now we don't know anything else in hand other than the Eustace Kid. We're going to pitch this. We're going to play Garp down on board. Garp's going to toss a Garp. And then we'll do a thing. We're going to Kuzan ability. Draws me a Josie. We're going to Garp ability, which is going to replace the Sengoku, which draws me 2 more cards. Okay, so now we're at the stack where I believe it was Pudding, Gion, Pudding, and then Peacock. Something like that, if I remember. We can still swing here this turn as well to get more cards out of hand. I think that's better for us to do. We can pitch the Jozu in order to do that. So we're going to Sakazuki here. We're going to give the Siru the Rested Dawn. And then we're going to swing 5 to face. We'll pitch this. We'll draw a free card. Was that right? I don't remember if that's going to be a Gion or not. Is it? It is a Gion. Alright, look at that. So the next card should be a Pudding. And then another Gion into a Peacock. Okay. I think that was a 2K. The X-Drake. I don't remember. I think X-Drake's a 2K counter. I'm pretty sure. But either way, look at that hand, boys. We are good to go. Everything in our hand is a 2K counter besides the Pudding. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. This is late game Kuzan. Being able to do this. It's kind of crazy. Because he has multiple ways of tackling this board, but he doesn't really have a lot of ways of tackling this board and establishing Eustace Kid down. So. Because he has to swing first with the Cavendish to be able to restand the Dawn. Which is okay, right? Because he can attach the 2 and then swing 9 into Jozu. And then restand 2. And he gets, what, 1 attached to Jewerly Bonney to go lead, I assume? I would think. Or he can go attach 2 to Cavendish, swing it to Jozu. And then attach 2 to Jewerly Bonney and swing into, leader, and at the end of the turn, go ahead and restand 1 with the Erouge if he wants to. But he also has to have a Dawn attached to the Kid to be able to do the kid effect. So I think my opponent's contemplating on how he wants to do this here. Okay, so we're going to swing first with lead, which is interesting. So that 1 Dawn that he has left will be going to Kid, I would think. I don't know. That's a little bit of a weird, of a play there. Oh, he goes for Siru. Okay. That's fine. Totally forgot about that. So now what do you do? Our hand is so nice. Look at it. Look at all them 2K counters, boys. It's pretty good. Uh-huh. So he's gonna... Okay, never mind. He's swinging on Cavendish again. What are we doing here? Okay. We're gonna go ahead and trigger this Red Rock, actually. I'm contemplating on it because we have another card to pitch for the Peacock. And I don't feel like we're going to be bottom decking or removing anything, even though Shishigi's in play here. But I think the smart thing is just to bottom deck this for now. Just to get it out of the way, So this will go bye-bye. He's got 2 Dawn left over from the Cavendish that got restood. He still has an extra play that he can make in this situation. He's going to Kid effect. And Kid plays down what exactly? Okay, Rosinante. Okay, so he's debating on swinging with Erouge. Because he gets the Dawn back anyway. I don't understand why you would swing with that. I don't get it. Having 2 blockers up for Kid in this situation is probably more ideal. Because he goes 6 here. This is just going to get a 2K counter from me, Which is not really a problem. And we have the Hina in case we need to play her down later to just nullify Erouge from blocking anyway. So, restands 1 Dawn off the Monk. And he passes turn to me. There's the Pudding. So there's a lot of ways we can go about this, actually. Not with our hand, really. We don't have much going on here. We can play putting down. You know, cool. That's great. But I think I want to try something that may be a little silly. And this could have costed me the game here. I don't know 100%, especially with the amount of counter that we have. But I want to try something. We're going to spend 5 Dawn. And he has to choose whether or not he puts a blocker back to hand or removes a Cavendish, right? So he's either going to choose the Erouge that's already rested, or he's going to choose the Rosinante that's in play. I don't see him removing the Cavendish, but I could be wrong, because the Rosinante allows him to protect the kid for the turn when I start smacking into it. But he does get to choose with the Suru, which is kind of nice. At the same time, we pitch 2, and then we get to draw 2 more cards with Kuzan's ability. So he's going to bounce back Erouge to hand, which is a 1k counter. So I'm hoping we're able to get that out of hand when we swing here. There's the Gravity Blade, which had been good. But we didn't have it. We didn't have it at the moment we needed it. So if we started this turn off with the Gravity Blade for the draw, that'd been pretty solid. Huh. Speaking of which, we end up getting a Tashigi there and a Gravity Blade. Wonder why. Oh, we drew. Okay, that makes sense. That does mess up the order. Anyway, we're going to go 10 into the kid. We're sitting at 6 cards in hand. We draw off the Sakazuki, considering we gave the rest of Dawn to the Garp there, which is another Gravity Blade. He's going to rest Sakazuki here. And now we've got 3 more swings with 4 Dawn left. So technically we can still go 888 into the Eustace Kid. And then next turn he can play Doflamingo and just lock my whole board. So, you know, something to think about. There's that and that. Okay. That's math. Goes up to 11. We swung for 10. And now we're kind of contemplating on doing this again or not. I think this is the correct move. We're going to go 10 here. If he guards out, that's fine. I don't mind swinging Jozu into it. I just want to keep up a Dawn for the ice block, if possible. Yes, he could still have Hody Jones here, but it wouldn't matter. Due to the fact of how many counter we have in hand. Because you could just play Hody and then rest my my active Dawn and just go face-face, you know? He does guard out. So we're going to go 8 in the kid as well. This gives us the Erouge, by the way. Which makes sense here. So there's the Erouge. And then I can't swing, so we'll pass it over to him. I still think we're in favor, definitely. Because next turn he can't protect the kid with the amount of cards that he has in hand. And we're at 2 life here. Let alone we have an army of 2Ks, which we're chilling behind. My opponent's got 5 cards in hand here. So now how does he go about this? He's got to play something first to get value with Cavendish, right? To be able to restand something. And we're sitting at 6 with 1 Dawn open. So I was already expecting this turn to be Hody or another Shanks just to be able to pop something on board. Which still enables Kid to be able to be rested. And he's able to just remove something that we have in play. So in this regard, we would go ahead and attach Dawn to Garp or whatever to swing into the Kid. He would rest another Sakazuki or Garp. And then we would have 1 extra card on board for the following turn if he decides to go with the Shanks. Because Shanks clears something, right? And then he just rests the other body. Therefore, we only have 1 more swing. So. Or no swings if he does have the counter for the Kid. The other option would be, what's it called? Mihawk. Because Mihawk enables him to do a lot of things this turn. At least body-wise, right? Because he can play blockers down at that point. And Mihawk's also another... There, yeah. So Mihawk does come down here. Yep. Sure. which isn't too bad, but at the same time we don't have another red rock. And we have to get over the Mihawk and the Eustace Kid before we can go for face. So he is sitting pretty good, technically. And if he wants to try to go for game the following turn, I still don't think he can do it, just with the amount of 2Ks that we have. But he does have 5 Dawn left, so he will be attaching something to Cavendish here and swinging to restand something. And I think the only option is to attach Dawn to Cavendish and swing into one of my bodies on board. Because he can't play Hoodie Jones or anything to rest my Dawn. So he has to go heavy into Cavendish here. Which we have the Peacock, if needed. Yep. Oh, okay. 5 lead, sure. We're definitely not going to go to 0 here. We'll give him the 1K. And we have to keep our board if possible. Okay, Capone. I think that's the 3rd Capone, I believe. So he taps 2, does the thing. What are we cycling out? Eustace Kid. So it's another brick that he had. 3 Dawn left. So I guess he can go 9 into Jozu here. That's math. And then restand 2 Dawn. But at that point, I don't know why you didn't just attach the Dawn to the Jewerly Bonney to swing 6 instead of 5. If that's what your game plan was. That way you could have got at least, a 2K. For sure, out of hand there. Instead of the 1K counter, which we gave him from the Tashigi. Yep. He's actually going to go to face here instead. Believe it or not, he's going to go face instead of going for a body on board. So we're going to go ahead and Peacock. Or Ice Block. I don't know why I keep saying Peacock. I'm sorry. Alright, so we're at 9K. Remember that. We'll have to give him a 2K here. Go up to 11. He's got 3 cards left in hand. Pass his turn over. And I think now we're looking pretty good to win the game here. If we can clear the Eustace Kid, which we should be able to this turn. There's not really much he's going to be able to defend against this here. We're going to spend the 3. We're going to play down the Hina. We are going to force the Beji not to be able to block. Hina enables it so any character that's 4 cost or less cannot block as long as we decide to discard a card from our hand. If we don't discard it, she can't use the ability. And it's activate main. I messed up. I should have rested the Hina here. That's my bad. Not that it matters, but that's my fault. Hina should be rested for this play. But either way, we're going to attach Sakazuki there. He's going to rest the Sakazuki. So we're going 10K into Eustace Kid. And we have 2 extra attackers left over. So he either gives us his hand or he guards out with Mihawk. And then we take the Kid regardless. Okay, so he guards here. Even my opponent missed it too, by the way. Which is crazy. But it's okay. It happens. I need to have up 2 Dawn floating over. Just in case it is the Hoodie Jones. And I think we're still fine with the amount of counter we have. But I just want to play it safe. So we're going to start off with going 8 into the Kid. And we don't even have another Peacock right now. There's the 2K counter. So he's got 2 cards left in hand. Which, unfortunately, we have to play this smart. So, we're going to go 10. Just to clear the Kid. And then we're going to go 8 with Kuzan into the Cavendish that's on board. Just to clear everything out of the way. So no matter what, my opponent's not going to be able to take me out during the next turn. Because if he plays down Hody try to go for game here. He gets 3 Don left, which will swing in with Bonney for 8K, which we have the counter for. So we're not worried about that. So we have the shop owner coming over and telling us it's time in the game. Unfortunately, we're sitting at like 45 minutes or something like that, which is crazy, right? Very long time. But again, our opponent slow played quite a bit. And that's understandable, especially when he doesn't have as much practice as he wants to in this matchup. But I also don't know if this is how he typically plays. I have no idea. This is the first time I played against him, so I mean, I can't, I can't know. Now, that's not saying that that's nothing to fault my opponent for. It's just in general, like the slow play. You can't necessarily do this in bigger regional events or case tournaments or whatever, because your opponent will, you'll get sharked. It is what it is. And this one I didn't necessarily mind, especially when he's trying to learn the matchup or get better with the matchup, and I didn't care too much. But my opponent being a nice guy, he did give me the W, because he definitely was cooked in this game. There's nothing he's gonna be able to do to stabilize here. So he did give me the win for it, but overall it was a very, very tough matchup, especially with how it was going. I think we played tremendously well, and I think our opponent did the best that he possibly could have done with the cards that he had. I think there were cards in which he wanted to see, which he did not see until the late game here, which it be what it be. It's how Jewerly Bonney works occasionally. But let's go ahead and dive back into the deck list here, and I'll see you guys in a split second. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the end of the video, in which today we played around with Kuzan into a Jewerly Bonney here at a local scene. I do hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'm sorry if it's a lot longer than it typically is. Normally I try to keep these matches, 30 minutes, give or take, because it is a lot of editing if I go back and edit all of the, the time and what have you, the timestamps, all that sort of thing, because every opponent is completely different. And I wanted to get this video out to you guys, especially when it comes to playing at locals, because you got to keep in mind everybody thinks differently. Everybody plays a deck differently than you, regardless if you're playing the same deck or the same build or what have you. Everybody takes their turn differently, and sometimes it be what it be. Your opponent may take too long, or they may not take enough time. They may overthink things. It's always going to be a different experience. So to be able to get this match out to you guys, especially when it comes to Jewerly Bonney, regardless of how the match turned out, when it comes to the rules here, it is what it is, right? Our opponent technically got the W, because it comes down to either it's a double game loss, right? Or you count the life or the cards in the deck. If we go by the cards in the deck, I definitely lose because I draw way too much. But respectively, of course, he gave me the W, which is nice, man. So shout out to the opponent. At the end of the day, this is still a matchup in which I hate seeing. I think a lot of people should struggle into if you're playing Kuzan. It's very difficult. Now, of course, there's ways around it, and I've beaten Jewerly Bonney multiple times with Kuzan. It's just a matchup in which I want to avoid. The other one in which I definitely don't want to see is into Blackbeard, currently in today's format, out of everything else. I feel like Kuzan has very good matchups, whether it's very close to a 50-50 or it is a 50-50 in almost everything, which is really good. Either way, hope you guys enjoyed today's video. This has been Pawseplays. Remember to hit that like button so we get these videos floating around, and I will be tagging you guys with more Kuzan videos after this one goes live. On Saturday, considering Sunday is my case tournament, I will be getting games from that as well. But on Saturday, you guys will be getting Yamato, which is the second iteration of a deck list in which I've been playing around with. That will be here this Saturday, so stay tuned for that one. And then we also will be getting into some more Kuzan stuff for Friday, tomorrow, along with more locals games from tomorrow. So you have a lot of stuff to look forward to. I do hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe out there. See y'all later.